Okay, this is Bill Brady, Ecclesia Framework. This is Tree of Life Dialogue Group. It's our second meeting, and it's August 13th, 2017, and we are now recording. I'm going to start off, well, I'll give you a general idea of what we're going to do with the meeting. We will do some things at the beginning. My plan is to do some dialoguing here about the Book of Destiny activation you did, and then we'll actually do the activation as a group here in the meeting and then talk some more about it afterwards. My thought on this is that when all of us are exercising our faith together as a group, it's going to make it easier for someone that may have had some difficulty doing it on their own. And it may be easier for someone that has had some difficulty the first time around on their own after they've heard some positive testimonies. So we'll begin with positive testimonies in a moment. But my other thought is kind of like what we had back in the prophetic movement when there was a prophet in the room. Quite frequently, everybody else had found it very easy to prophesy. So same thing here as a group. I'm thinking, hi, Eric, that the joint anointing on all of us and all of our faith exercise will make it easier for all of us. So Helen and Wendy, you may want to mute, and the cell phone thinks I don't think I know how to mute them without, let's see if I can mute cell phones. Did I mute successfully? I did. Okay, so if you're on a cell phone, you're going to want to unmute yourself before you try to speak. If you can't, send me a chat and I'll get you unmuted. Okay, so let's start off here. We're going to ascend together to the conference room. And my corporate image of a conference room may not at all be your image of a conference room, and it may not at all be where the Lord is taking us to. So don't let my corporate image of a conference table limit you. It could just as easily be a circle of stumps in a forest, and sitting on the stump with trees around us. Whatever image works for you and whatever image the Lord chooses to get us to is just fine. I was just using the corporate conference room image to help people engage their imagination to get to the conference room. So we're going to start by ascending the conference room. Before we do that, we will cover ourselves with the blood of Jesus, block out other heavenly realms. We are welcoming Father, Son, Holy Spirit, seven spirits of God, angels, men in white linen, great cloud of witnesses, holding hands here and going through Jesus as a gate. He said, I am the gate, I am the door. So going through Jesus up into heavenly realms to a conference room the Lord has given us to meet in as a group. We are now seated in a group, and we're going to take some time to hear some testimonies by folks who did have success in seeing their book of destiny. So anybody that had success in seeing your book of destiny or scroll of destiny, go ahead and raise your hand. And we'd love to hear what your experience was. Don't be shy. I know there were some great experiences out there already in the chat. Good, go ahead.
Seeing the book physically was really interesting. It was a neat setting. It was under a willow tree, and I've been encountering the Mother Heart of God lately, and so I had the Holy Spirit in a female form holding this gorgeous book and opening it, and it flared open and lights and everything. I was like, wow, this is, if I'm getting this level of detail just on this encounter, what's going to happen with looking in? And I look in, and what I get is wonderful, but so simple. It's a river. It's a great big river. It's not just a stream. It's not a trickle. And there's a waterfall, not a huge one, but like a decent shelf, like, I don't know, maybe about as much as a story from one level of a building to another going down. And normally when I see a waterfall, you're kind of like at the bottom looking up, right? And this was a waterfall going down,
Mm.
and it was just very smooth. And I so appreciated your teaching on seeing with the, you see and then you ask, what does it mean?
Mhm.
It just was so succinct and was very helpful. And so I was like, okay, what does this mean? And it's the staying in the flow, and the waterfall going down was going deeper into
Mhm.
it. So here I thought it was going to be all specific and blueprinty and precise. It's like flow. Okay, flow. There you go.
But it was deep.
Well, yeah, and it was more, go in further,
Okay.
further.
That
So
was an
there you go.
intentional pun also, so pardon me.
Yes, deep. There you go.
Because it was so simple, it was a pun and a joke. But yes, how he chooses to communicate to us is entirely up to him. And you may see it at some point, and then you may actually hear. So you may think that you're stuck, but you're actually just switching senses. And you may be expecting one thing and getting another, and that can also make you feel stuck, and you're not. You're just expecting one thing and you're going to get something else. Joanna, what did you experience?
Well, we had a group ascension, and when we went up, Jesus took us to many different rooms. But this incident, it feels like we went into like a room. They had a lot of books, sort of like a library,
Mhm.
and Jesus reached one type of book, and when he opened it, and I had a sense that it was destiny book.
Mhm.
I could kind of see there was a lot of writing in it,
Mhm.
but I didn't really get to see what was on it.
Mhm.
So, and a couple of the other people received the same feeling or, intuition or whatever you call it.
Mhm.
So we just decide to eat it.
Okay.
So that was it. But I'm just wondering, how do we play out getting the more instruction from the Lord, what the
Mhm.
destiny book is about for individual people?
Okay. So good question. Several things. You can go back and engage the same experience over again, right where you left off. There's no time limit on any of these things. And you can be led to eat it, or in that case, what's going to happen most likely is this is going to come out of you at some point. It'll, like you're talking and it pops out of your mouth. And you say, where did that come from? Or it may simply be a knowing, because now you've internalized this thing. It's now going to be kind of like if you were water and now you put red dye into the water. Now all the water has turned red, and now everything's filled with that red dye. Same thing. Now your spirit is filled with that book of destiny, and so that information, even though it's not in your head at the moment, is in your heart. And somebody has chatted saying Ezekiel 3:3, Son of Man, eat this scroll, from Donna. Yes, thank you, Donna. So there's all kinds of different ways, and if God is leading you that way, then that's the way you're supposed to go. Hi. So we just started. We're discussing the Book of Destiny, and some folks have had some experiences we're talking about, and then we're going to do that as a group together in a moment here. But I want to hear some good testimonies first. And let's see here. Just finding. Pardon me, everybody, for just a moment here. I want to see if I can. Here we go. I'm going to mute Pearlie. Okay. There we go. Very good. So it can happen that way. So same as a scroll, yeah. Book of Destiny. Some people, when they see their Book of Destiny, they actually see it as a scroll. Some people see it as a book. It seems to me it's the same thing from what I'm understanding. scroll, instead of opening pages, you you open the scroll. And as a general thing, we come back to our Book of Destiny whenever we're led or whenever we want more information, and it will give you more information once you've actually moved on from what you've just been shown. I mean, the general principle is be shown something and then do something with it, and then you get shown more. Okay, anybody else with a testimony that you had? Okay, I'm sorry, Helen, go ahead. Helen, you're next. Helen, you raised your hand, go ahead. Oh, okay. And Joanna, you've already raised your hand once. So did anybody else have a testimony that they wanted to share before Helen? There we go. Good, Helen. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Am I unmuted?
No, I've got you. I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. So I'm believing this is relevant.
Please.
A week ago, because I was struggling with what to do, God abruptly stopped me from going to hospital because the hospital broke out with Legionnaire's disease, so it closed down. So I went to God and went to the Lord, and he challenged me, and a friend in America and I did an ascension, and I took to the Lord why my book is an open book. My book of life is an open book that I've sort of stood up in. And the Lord challenged me to go to a higher court to claim the ancestral destiny that had never been taken up book. And so it was higher than court of accusation. And we did a court case, and it was released for me and for that other person. And when it was declared and we went to the Court of Angels, it literally opened and the angels came out. And as it opened, the angels brought out and brought alive a lot of the explanation of what had closed down, because I'm a descendant of Spurgeon. And they all came alive, and it was like a lot of people talking a lot of angels talking at once. And so I've been engaging wisdom for explanation of why that closed, how that closed, and what was actually done a lot in the spirit at the court. And I'm understanding myself better. Now I understand the ancestral book of destiny that is now opened and flowing through from heaven. So my book is even more obvious and open since the release of the other one. Okay, so
Yes,
Bill, I haven't been around long, so I hope I've explained that adequately.
that was very clear and very, very exciting. That is wonderful. First off, very interesting that all of us have different experiences entirely. But secondly, very interesting bringing up that we can have ancestors in our family line that did not complete all of what they were meant to do, and we can have part of that come down to us to finish the job. It's very interesting, and it also explained part of the reason why you were sensing that things were not flowing fully in your book was because there was something else going on. And so in that kind of situation, your question might be, what exactly do I need to do? What is going on here? And you can have that revealed to you and then take it from there. And it's question down here, somebody else in the chat group has, this is great, by the way, massive library full of scrolls. They were gold, and the people's names were on the round part neatly in order. The angel took me through these, and it was in alphabetical order. Does it matter if the library books, and I push the button, does it matter if the library looks different to others? No, it does not. Again, God speaks to us through what is understandable to us. And we can, all 24 of us, be in the same place in heavenly places and be experiencing it slightly different just because we have a different personal experience. And he uses different exact symbols to communicate with us. So we all have the sense we're in the library. Some of us may be seeing the details and others may not, but we all get to the book and get the book open. The details, it's nice to have them, but you don't have to have them to make this book of destiny work. You just need to get to where it is and get it opened up. Simone, your hand is up. What did you experience?
Quite a few things actually. I have it was several things that happened, and then a revelation came out of all of them as God revealed them to me one by one. He showed me, I mean, it was through my men in white linen and seeing my book. But let me say this first about my book. Actually, I was doing a court case. I was leading somebody else in how to do a court case, and we ended up in the court of scribes. It's weird how it happened, but in heaven, anything can happen. And we ended up in the court of scribes, and we saw, I'm gonna keep it short. We saw basically this library open up, and it had all of our books in it. And so we engaged with our books, and that was one way that I engaged with my book. But also, because let me say this, when we were going through a court case, what the scribes write into a lot of times is your book of destiny. So I just wanted to say that. And so that was one way that I got revelation of that. And then two, it was in, God led me through this process and finding out about, cleansing my bloodline. And it wasn't the old way of cleansing my bloodline. It was going into the courts for my family. To make a long story short, he showed me that my bloodline was assigned to justice. And so I started calling. I got the phrase the Joneses for justice. Huh. And then, so what I'm saying is it was a process. And then also I engaged with my men in white linen, which happened to be, two of them happened to be George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, actually, and Martin Luther King too. And they all had to deal with freedom and justice. So that's how it started unfolding. Then I started engaging them. And then I got understanding that one of my first assignments was to help lead the church out of the old into the new. So that was one of my first assignments of freedom.
Now, Simone, how many times?
How the Lord led me to the Ecclesia framework. Mm-hmm. And, helping people with this. So and then, I started finding my mountains, and it just kind of snowballed after that.
Okay. And this was a little more advanced level looking into the book.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I just want to point that out so that somebody looking for the first time isn't thinking that I have to understand all that before I can make my book of destiny work, because you don't. Now, Kim, you had your hand up for a bit there. You actually had a chat there saying you couldn't find your hand. Now you got your hand, so go ahead. What did you see? What did you experience?
All right. I actually have two. You talked about different levels.
Yep.
And the very first one I had was years ago when we just heard about our chat, and I was just journaling with the Lord, and I asked him what's on my scroll, and he said, and at that time, I don't know that I was ascending very well. I don't know that I knew how to do it as much as I knew how to journal.
Yep.
So what he said was, well, what do you want to be on there?
Huh.
And so I sat, and there were a few things. I mean, this was new to me that we could, you know, control time, that we could control the weather, that we could, there were just several things I wrote on there. I wanted to understand my dreams. I wanted to be able to help other people. There were just things in my heart, and I wrote them all down. And at the end, he says, well, they're all on your scroll. Everything I had written down that meant that was, you know, that I wanted was on there. And so that was, it wasn't any direction. It was just the things in my heart. And it had a lot to do with this movement. I want to see you, you know, and just in you know, ascending. So that was one of that was my very first experience with what was written on my scroll. That those were things on my heart, and the things I wrote down generally apply to the sons of God in general.
Okay.
Things that we will do. The second one I have is I had read the book by Robert Henderson, and he outlined a situation where if no one in your family is saved, then maybe the enemy has your book of the family, and it might need to be redeemed. So he gives an outline of how to do that, how to redeem the family book. And that had to do with going record and repenting and closing. Well, there were several steps. I don't know how deep you want me to go.
No, that's okay. That's good right there, probably.
Kim, can you just really quickly before you go on? I'm sorry, I missed something. Where did you get this information?
What oh, Robert Henderson?
Oh, Robert Henderson talks about redeeming the family book.
Yes, it's in his second
Really?
book.
Oh, his second book, because I have the first one and I didn't remember that.
No, and actually it's more like a YouTube that he did a lot better than his book. His YouTube explained it better than his book.
Oh, yeah?
But anyway, I did what he walked through the stages, and I was in a hurry. I had to get to work. I just barely got finished and went to work. And the next day that night when I was coming home from work, I was driving and I felt a presence anyway. An angel showed up and she says, "Here, you forgot to get your books this morning," and handed me the book, my family book. And I haven't done anything with it. I haven't necessarily known what to do with it, but I'm hoping that now that we can get members of the family saved, because they've just been totally not interested or no desire. So I haven't gotten in to see what's in it, but those are the two experiences I have with my Destiny Scroll.
A lot of good stuff there. We won't pursue it all right at the moment. I'm just going to put hands down for a moment here because I want to move on. Apologies to those that were still in line here. I wanted to just do this before we move on. I want to kind of take a poll here. How many, if you just could raise your hand, if you were able to get some information out of your book enough to be able to be of some assistance to you. Let's put it that way. Just want to get a poll here. So raise your hand if that's the case, and don't be concerned if you're not raising your hand. Okay, so we've got several folks that had that kind of experience and several that didn't. Good. So my sense was that we needed to do the exercise tonight, and so it looks like maybe a third to a half of us had a successful situation where we got enough information to be able to do something with, and the other rest of us did not this time around. So, okay, I'm going to quickly lower hands, and then we're going to go through and do the exercise together as a group. If you could engage your faith right now that we're going to be able to, especially if you had a positive experience, we're going to be able to assist everybody else to have a positive experience tonight. So we'll engage our faith. We have the presence of angels to help us with that. So we're going to have angels assigned tonight. I've already assigned them to help folks with this exercise. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, of course, are involved. And so we've got a lot more happening tonight than you might have had happening on your own. And so we will now start the exercise as a group. So let's close our eyes and picture yourself in the library. Again, the details do not matter a whole lot. What comes to you is fine. If you're not getting a whole lot of details, that's fine. You just know you're in the library, that's just fine. All we need is enough to be able to turn the keys in the car. We don't have to know the details here. So we're in the library, using our imagination to see ourselves in a library. We're around a table, and in front of each of us is our own book of destiny. And we reach out and we open the book. Now, those of you who have done this before, you're getting more information at this point, possibly. Those of this may be the first time you've done it, or you're doing it again with more understanding this time. You're going to get a picture that you may not have gotten last time. So you've got the book in front of you, you're opening it. And now you're going to be seeing or sensing something. If you see something, you may be able to engage it, which means like asking what this means, or you may be able to tell what it means. So you've got something in front of you, you may be able to see it, you may have heard it, whatever it is. Take that and go to the next step by engaging it, looking for more information through whatever way the Lord chooses to give that information, or more instructions about what's next. You've heard some possibilities about what can happen next. So apply your faith and your imagination and pursue the next step that is coming to you. You may have enough to work with now to get some information out of it, or you may have to go another step of engaging it again. I'll give you some time to just quietly work on that. Okay, some of you may be scribbling furiously and writing things down. Now, if anybody has not yet seen the book or sensed that it was there, all of us that are not engaged at the moment, let's put our faith together and pull them into this. Help them to be able to see Jesus is with you right now. He's going to open the book for you this time. He's presenting it to you. He's going to open it for you. He's going to help you see. At this point, if we've forgotten to open our first love gate, do that. If you need to open any other gates that you know they're involved, you may want to open your eye gate, for example, or your spiritual eye gate, or revelation, or anything else that you sense you need to open. But engage that book that's in front of you that Jesus has opened the page. Read or ask him to read it to you. You could ask him to do it all for you if necessary. We're all engaging our faith to help you this time around. Okay, now, those of you that have had some success, you can write things down. If anybody is got the book in front of them but hasn't yet been able to engage that, you could just raise a hand. Maybe we can walk you through it step by step. Or we can come back to this. Okay, Robin, what do you have at this point?
I kind of, I feel like I sound like a broken record because whenever I'm on a call, I veer off into intercession related issues. It's just been a very difficult time on that score. And so whenever I'm trying to engage with you, I get pulled into something that is sort of like an obstacle to seeing. So something I think got taken care of intercession wise for somebody else, which is probably why I couldn't see clearly. But I first saw something very strong green, more of an impression of a color, and sort of like a duotang, but not sure. And then it flipped into, I've got this, it's hard to describe, but it's like an accordion file kind of a thing that is on the smaller side. It's designed to put takeout menus in it, and it's a bright aqua blue. And I just got it because I love the color. So I know the color of it. I know it's sort of an accordion file to put menu items in, menus in for ordering meals from takeout menus. And that's as far as I've gotten.
Does that particular image have meaning to you, or should we ask what it means?
I sort of just assume, like, it's not really that it has a meaning for me, but I assume it has something to do with, I often think of the Bible as the menu of a feast. So you read in the Bible something and you decide if you want that, then you actually order it, kind of a thing.
Okay, so it does mean to you
something
that
like that.
you've got feast in front of you. Okay, so let's engage further what you have in front of you.
Yeah.
And let's ask Jesus to reveal to you what that is, so you can go to the next step and get some revelation out of this. So Lord Jesus, we're asking you to help Robin to see, hear, whatever, to know the next step here, or to get revelation out of this file that she's looking at. Has anything changed, Robin?
There's just a lot of confusion for me right now.
Okay, let's block the confusion out. So we're blocking confusion out so that won't happen. And if you need to turn the intercession stuff off for the moment, you could probably do that. Just, you do have to take care of yourself. It's kind of like when I was being taught life-saving as a child, as a young man rather, in a pool, they taught us reach, throw, row, go. Somebody's in the water and they're struggling, you reach out and pull them in. That's your first choice. Your next choice is to throw something to them. The third choice is to row out to them. And the fourth and last choice is to get in the water with them. So my point here is, you're spending your life and your energy on helping other folks. You do have the right to turn that off for the time that you need to be able to take care of yourself. So that's not unloving. It actually helps others to have you be able to function fully yourself. You're a fully functioning lifesaver. You're much more help to other folks than if you're a half functioning lifesaver.
That's very true, yeah.
I don't see anything unloving about turning off your intercession for the moment and getting the information you need and taking care of yourself here. That's not only all, that's just finding your destiny so you can move into it.
Yeah.
So turn that off for the moment, and we'll help you block that out.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
It's something that I really want to do.
Yep.
Actually, the other day, I forget what led into it, but I actually asked, like, I was just alone, and I just asked that Jane Johnson would lend me her help as the ox, because I was pursuing the four faces of God. I wanted to know more about the face of God that is the ox, because that's the one that I identify with so strongly.
Okay, now
and
back to your file though. Back
Sorry?
to your accordion file. Don't lose track of what you got in front of you here. You got your accordion file in front of you in your book of destiny. What do you see there now? Or what do you hear? Engage it again. What do you hear? What do you see? Yeah, keep pressing in and ask Jesus to read it to you. Somebody's making a note here to other folks, and there's some chats help going on here, and that's great. If you chatting with somebody else that is looking for assistance, that's fantastic. Help them that way, that's great. Robin, what do you see? What do you hear?
Just confusion.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to it then.
Okay.
But you got further this time than you did last time. And it is meant to be read. I mean, that meant to reveal your destiny to you. That's the function of it. So there's nothing, we're not expecting anything out of it that it's not designed to do. Was there anybody else that had some that is having more success right now, has gotten partway there and needs some assistance getting the rest of the way there?
Bill, can I ask?
Go ahead, please.
Can I ask Robin what color she saw?
The first color was a very strong green. I don't know how to describe it exactly. Sort of like a very intense, almost like a French green, sort of a yellowish green. And then after that, the accordion file that was the recipe holder. It's a very strong aqua blue.
Aqua blue. You know, I'm going to submit this to you to check into the 7 spirits of God. You know, because each one of them is represented by a color.
Right. Yes.
And the green, particularly, is the spirit of counsel.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's there are 2 different blues. There's there's a spirit of might and there's a spirit of knowledge. I encourage you to, and they're on Mike Parsons' website, that document. You can Google it. We don't have that much time to go into the detail right now, but I think that I'm sensing that could help you.
Okay.
In terms of why you're seeing what you're seeing.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. If anybody has resources on knowing further the 7 spirits of God, wisdom, and her 7 handmaidens, and the 4 faces of God, maybe just private message me. I would really appreciate that. Those are the 3 things that I'm really trying to pursue right now.
Wonderful. And that's interesting that you were already pursuing that. And it seems to be the possibility. You've got an invitation to pursue 2 specific of the spirits, of the 7 spirits. So that you may actually be on the same page, use that phrase, as your desire is actually the invitation.
Right.
You had a desire to engage, and now you've got an invitation to engage 2 specific spirits of God, and you actually were getting something in your book of destiny in line with what you were looking for, and you get an answer. So it is functioning. You are actually not having difficulty. You are being led to the next thing, which is a relationship to tutors that can assist you. Thank you so much, Simone.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Eric.
For Miss Robin, I'll try to send her some stuff about the 7 handmaidens and the spirit of wisdom to help her out, to help you out. When we get off this session, I will, at some of my personal revelation, I'll send to you also.
Please do, yes.
Thank you, Eric. And Donna says, if you see things that seem to not fit, don't dismiss it. We just learned that from Robin. We thought maybe we were off track, but actually we're completely on track. The colors had a meaning, and information is going to be there for her. Revelation is going to be there for her. And another chat says, okay, that was for Robin. And could it be that as you look at your scroll, that a vision that I had this week came in? It had to do with my life, just making sure that it is not my mind. Yes. You could very easily, just like Robin was actually trying to engage the spirits of God, and she ended up engaging 2 of them, or having invitation to engage them. You could very much easily be continuing the conversation you began earlier in the week, and you're getting some answers to that conversation you had begun earlier, because your relationship with the Lord is a continuing conversation. And so, yes, that's not a problem at all. And we're seeing here a lot of variety in the way this can work. And we're also finding out then, and yes, just carry on engaging them, yes. And we're finding out that what at first appears to be a dead end or a misperception could very well actually be exactly what is supposed to be there. And when you engage it more, you find out that it has meaning to it, and you actually are completely on the right track.
Bill, I have a question.
Please.
Is it I got something about the symbols she saw,
Please, go ahead.
an understanding of those symbols. Is that appropriate?
Yes, and everything you submit to somebody else is up to them to see if they agree that that's what it means to them. But any assistance in helping them interpret, sure. I don't see.
Okay, so what I saw is that menus are things that you can order, and that she's been invited to a variety of experiences on her scroll. That it's not just one, that she's got choices. And the other thing I saw is out of the book of Esther, when the king called his generals to the leadership conference, they were presented with all the foods and all the drinks, and they got to choose what they partook of.
Very interesting,
Okay, interesting.
Nancy. Thank you. And somebody else mentioned that they had choices given to them in their scroll. So that's a common theme here. So Nancy, thank you for speaking up, because I see your hand is there. And Kelly and Capri, I see your hand there also. What did you want to share?
Bill, this is Capri.
Hi, Capri.
Hi. I had an experience with my book.
Please.
Is that
good? Yeah, it's a good time. I think we're able to
happen?
yeah.
Like before, when I engaged in the just the exercises, activation exercises during the week, I saw symbols and then just heard some things. But tonight I had like an experience with it. I'm still trying to understand it. So I was opening it to read, and light came out of it, which I saw my name in the book, which says light bearer, and bunch of light came out of it. And then it it's like sprouted wings or something and started flying. And the library's super, super tall, and it started flying up. And then I started flying up out of my chair, and then it was really weird. It was like I was a different person, but I don't think it was really me, but it was like I turned into, it was just a little child, a blonde hair little girl. So I know it wasn't me. And then I could see Jesus down sitting at the table, because it was like really high up at the ceiling and smiling. And then like in the flash or a snap of a finger, I was back down in the chair as me looking at my book.
Wow. You're going to get meaning out of that. You've definitely got some symbols there that are pointing to something. So you're definitely going to get meaning out of that. And you've learned that when you engage symbols or images, that they become clear to you after engaging them, that the next step happens. So we've got this growing faith that as we look in our book of destiny, we get symbols. We can then go to the next step and find out what that symbol means. You've done it once, and you can do it again.
I have a question about a symbol.
Please, go ahead.
I was listening to your short clip that you shared about, it was about your scroll, and you were talking about symbols on your scroll. Oh, I think it was the newspaper one where you would see scrolls that you would just download into the earth. You were just throwing scrolls into the earth.
Yep.
I saw a scroll rolled up like a newspaper, and I received that. And then somewhere in there also was the Greek letter. I don't know which one it is yet. I have to look into it, but it looks a little bit like that. You know, the fish symbol that symbolizes Christians?
Yep.
Okay, so the Greek letter that looks like that, but it's more rounded on the end. It's not to a point. So I don't know anything about it yet. I'll look into it, but I know a little bit about the Hebrew letters, and I have some resources there, but I've never heard anything about the Greek letters.
Okay, well, take a look in, it's probably gonna be New Testament Greek, I would expect. New Testament Greek alphabet, and you'll find that online, I'm sure, and
Okay.
find the one that looks closest to that. If it matches, then you know what letter it is, and then you might be able to start a word with that or something. Now, Celia, I saw your hand up and I missed you. My apologies. Go ahead, Celia.
No, it's all good. With my Book of Destiny, or scroll or whatever, I think I've seen it before in previous experiences, and it was like had pictures in it before, but this time it seemed like it was a lot more mature. Sorry, I still don't really know what happened, but I also had an experience like Capri.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like a blue book, kind of like in a Sinbad animation film that I'd seen before. And so I reached out my hand over it to touch it, and suddenly this black ink started pouring off of it and onto me. I tried to, I wasn't sure that was okay at first, but then I just kind of let the experience happen. So I was covered with this black ink, and then this white ink started trailing up, like veins, all over my body. And words kind of appeared on my forearms, and I know what those are. I've had an experience with those before. And I really felt like Jesus was standing like right behind me. He was like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I reached out and I turned the page and I asked the book, like, what was my destiny? And ripples started appearing on the blue pages. And all of a sudden, this ring appeared on my pointer finger, and I was pointing at something. I'm not sure what it was. And these words, "there is light in darkness," really seemed like just appeared in my head. And I had an impression of me holding a torch, even though at the same time I was still pointing it in some vague direction. And that's all. That was my experience.
Yeah, you engage that. I think there's going to be more meaning to it as you engage it some more. When I say engage, it's kind of like turning the diamond over in your hand and just looking at side. You're just looking at all sides of this thing and maybe listening and looking and feeling and sensing, and it'll get clearer to you. Wow. Anybody? Actually, I think at this point, I'll probably end with the Book of Destiny for now, and we'll move on to seeing. Well, let's get a little more. Just a show of hands, anybody that's looking for extra assistance at this point that would need some more help with this particular exercise?
Bill, Caitlin. She says she's getting discouraged.
Okay. So at that point, I think we're going to help Caitlin on the side so that she certainly don't want her discouraged. And we'll work with that. I'm glad that that we're aware so we can assist. So, okay, Caitlin, did you get anything at all that we can help you with at this point, or should we, you can chat if you want to rather than, we'll work on the side. Okay, thank you, Caitlin. Now, what's happened in the last week or so on the chat group is I've seen folks, I'm aware some folks are kind of working in groups and other folks are assisting others. And so if you are finding yourself more advanced, or if you've already done an exercise, one of the things you might want to do at that point is figure out who hasn't done the exercise and help them out with it. Putting your toe in the water to start the process of doing some coaching and mentoring is a very good experience for everybody. I mean, you want to make sure the other person wants the assistance. That's fine. If they've got their yes or no on that, but you can volunteer. And especially if you're sensing you're going to be using that skill in the future, learning the skill right now is a great thing. And it's just like going on your first ascension, public ascension, you find out that you can do it by doing it. And mentoring and coaching are the same way. You find out that you're able to do it by doing it. So I would encourage folks to volunteer to help other folks, especially this next week where we're going to be doing the river, the bridge, the waterfall, and God's garden and our own garden. If those are things you've already done once before successfully, you might want to immediately start looking to help someone else that hasn't. And when we get done here, before we end, I'll introduce next week's topics more thoroughly, and then I'll find out who's already done it and who hasn't, and you can kind of take note. I'm going to lower the hands right now because I'm moving on to do the apologies. I had two hands up. Remind me, please, who was up? Who had their hands up? Helen, what do you have, Helen?
I would like to be a part of a smaller group going up.
Okay.
So I can learn faster, please.
Okay, so Helen is looking for some folks to work with, and she is in which, you're Australia? Australia. Okay. Do you have any other Aussies on the call that would like to be part of a group? Okay.
I'm prepared to be flexible on time.
Yes, so anybody's looking for a group, Helen does have some experience, as you've noticed when you listen to her. She's not a complete beginner, so if you're looking for somebody to work with, she's going to have some answers for you.
I would definitely like to be part of a smaller group discussion on a regular basis as well.
Robin, you're
but
US,
I know I'm not in Australia, so.
Yeah, where are you located? I don't need exactly what time zone.
Central Canada.
Okay, so Central Standard Time.
Which side of Canada? Because I used to live in Seattle, so I talk to a lot of people in Seattle, so I'm used to Seattle time.
Okay, well, I'm in Manitoba. It's basically dead center.
Okay, well, I could work with that timing because I talk to a lot of people in New York and Seattle, so I can work with that if you can work with mine.
Great.
Okay, are you, what time zone are you?
I'm in Australia and it's the middle of my day on Monday, but I'm an owl, not a fowl, so I'm usually up fairly late at night.
I see.
And that often works for some people.
Okay. Well, it's 9 o'clock in the evening for me right now on Sunday. So it may be a bit of a challenge to sort out when to meet, but I'm certainly willing to sort that out.
You'll work it out because I've worked with folks in Australia, so that'll work.
So can we Facebook friend each other? Sorry, who am I talking to?
Please go
My
ahead.
name is Robin. Look for Robin Ends.
Robin
EMS.
EMS.
Yep.
ENNS.
Oh, I'm sorry, ENS. My apologies.
There's two N's. It's
yep.
ENNS.
Okay, Ronell said she'd like to join a group. Ronell, where are you located? What time zone? I got 5 messages here.
Sorry, I had to switch on my audio. I'm in Berlin time zone. I'm in Germany.
Okay.
So now it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
But
Anybody
if I
have
connect with the people in Texas, and you guys have evening now, don't you?
Yeah, and that would be Capri and Kelly. So maybe you can broker some times with them.
Okay.
You can do
I'll
that
message
through chat.
you.
Yep.
I'll message you, Capri or Kelly.
Great. And Quinn is interested. It looks like somebody had to say goodbye. So goodbye, everybody. Frederick Nelsby. Okay, yeah, Frederick Nelsby will pick up. I think they're already connected with someone. And Okay, and Eric, you are Central Time as well. So if somebody's looking for Central, or maybe you can join the Central group. And Catalin, what time zone are you in? I've got a bunch of messages I probably haven't seen. Well, Central Eastern Time, Central European Time, that's CET, I believe. Anybody that's in, okay, Central European Time, anybody in that time zone that would be able to work with Catalin? 4 a.m. here. Okay, so got some connecting going. Joanna Park, Joanna, okay, back to Catalin in a moment. Anybody that's the same time zone as Central European Time or close to it, you could work with Catalin.
Oh, I am. I can work with Catalin.
Simone, okay. Catalin, yeah. Simone has a lot of experience. So that's perfect. And you can make that connection.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna, we had said I was gonna Facebook her.
Good.
Earlier. You know, can I say something really quick, Bill?
Please, I'm just looking through the chat.
I just want to exhort everybody and encourage everybody. You know, all of us when we, well, let me speak for me. When I started, I felt like I couldn't see my face in the mirror. I really couldn't see. I mean, you know, it was really hard seeing. But I just want to encourage everybody that, just like Bill has said several times, you can see, quote unquote, many ways. And I just want to encourage everybody to stay in the game. Yeah. Because really all of us are seeing. Sometimes you don't realize that you're seeing. So I think part of it is for you all to realize that you are seeing, and you'll come to, I think some of you will come to a point you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I am seeing. So I just want to encourage everybody in that, because we're all learning, and we're not, you know, we're all, you know, God has given us all. He's speaking to us all, whether we realize it or not. And we just have to learn how that happens. And whether you feel like you're dry as a bone or it's flowing like a river, stay in the game. So I just wanted to say that.
Yep.
I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah, we're all here to help. You know, iron sharpens iron. You know, I'm learning from you all. I mean, everybody's gleaning tonight. We're all gleaning from the Lord. And I realize that God has given each of us something. And most of all, we're receiving from heaven, and that's the important thing. And again, I just want to emphasize that we're all receiving from heaven, whether you realize it or not. Sometimes your spirit is catching stuff that you don't even know. Yep. So just stay in the game.
And Joanna, you're in Texas, and Kelly and Capri are also Texas. I don't know how. There's a bit of a group forming there. Yep.
This is Kelly.
Yes, Kelly.
Capri and I both have seen on our Book of Destinies to start a group for support for children.
Okay.
So we're going to do that. And so I'm just opening that up as an invitation to anyone that either has children that are engaging or knows parents or friends or whatever that have children that don't have anyone to talk to. We're going to be opening up a group for that.
Fantastic. By the way, folks that are forming a bit of a group, you've all got Zoom to be able to Zoom with me. Somebody in the group may end up needing to purchase the Zoom that allows you to go past 40 minutes. You may not. I mean, you may just simply have 40-minute meetings. That's fine. The other thing you can do is you can use your messenger, and you can actually make a messenger group, and you can go on to Google and find out how to do that. There's a way to do it on cell phones, and a way to do it on Messenger for cell phones, and a way to do it on Messenger for PCs. and then be able to have all of you in a messenger group, just like our Tree of Life dialogue group has a messenger group. So those are some things you can do if you have a group to work with. You can use your Zoom, or you can use the messenger group, or both. And you can be part of more than one group. I mean, if you've got some connections here, some connections there. Helen, you've got your hand up. How can I help you?
No, I was just going to say I have a 15-year-old that used to ascend when she was at only 3.5 after she came back from the dead. She's 15 now, and we're going through a real battle of what did she see, and she was a frozen embryo for 5 years. So she had encounters with God, which actually is documented in America by a Christian psychiatrist. So I would be really interested in talking to people about that, because she has some really unusual experiences, and just encouraging her on her walk. I at 62 would love some help in there and work with people. So can I put my hand up for that group as well, please?
Sure. Now, that was the children's group?
Yeah. She's not, I know, a child, but she is in God. We're all children of God. So, yeah, I would really like to be part of that, please.
Okay, that's Kelly and Capri that are leading that group. So you want to connect with them. What is going to happen is we've got some groups that are just forming because the time is convenient, but we also have some groups that are forming around Destiny Scrolls, and eventually we're all going to connect up with groups that are forming around Destiny Scrolls once we find out what our scroll has and what we have in common with somebody else on their scroll. This particular group of folks is very, very lively, and I'm expecting, I mean, we're full of God is what I'm trying to say. And there's a lot of good stuff going on here. And I'm expecting that there'll be quite a few groups based around Destiny Scrolls that come out of this group by the time we finish up. And I'm expecting there'll be people that will be facilitating and leading those groups. And so people will be stepping forward to take the facilitating position and leadership position. And that's going to mean learning how to do Zoom and how to some of those things. And I'm around to help out with some of those. If you need some assistance with that, I'd be glad to help with folks learning how to do those things.
I would definitely be interested in terms of the groups that are forming. Can you just say, I would like to form a group around whatever topic or whatever issue, or is this something that you need to talk to you in advance, or what?
Oh, no, that's a good point. In Priesthood of All Believers, nobody is under anybody here. Nobody's in charge of anybody. I am facilitating, which means I'm helping, assisting.
Okay.
I'm not in charge. And so you are free to form as you are led. This is entirely you and the Holy Spirit, and working as a group, and all of you hearing together. And that's the way it's going to be for the rest of our believing lives for all of us.
Right.
And I am so excited of just this little beginning that's happened in these few minutes, and the week. I've seen this starting to happen this last week, and it was so exciting because I've had other groups on occasion. No, I shouldn't say it that way. I have been in other situations where there wasn't as much happening as is happening here. This is wonderful. This is great. And this is the way it's supposed to be. And this is just so wonderful.
In terms of that topic, then I would really like to start a group, either a bench, considered a bench, or even just people who are personally invested in seeking the Lord and legislating regarding the destruction of strongholds in Hollywood, and bringing Hollywood to the Lord, and praying for the people involved and some of the major issues like the pedophilia rings and the MK Ultra projects and things like that, the brainwashing that happens through Hollywood. So that's something that I know I have on my scroll, and it is something that I would appreciate connecting with other people around. So if there's anybody who wants to work on those issues with me, I would really appreciate it.
Yep, and chat group works for this too. If you are finding things on your scroll and you're becoming aware of them, you can put it out there in the chat group. Is anybody interested in this? And find out.
Right.
So yeah. Okay, I'm going to, at this point, we've got a few minutes left, and I think we've covered the seeing thing without having to dialogue over it. Yeah, the groups can be casual and then get more formal around a particular topic, and you can flow from one group to another. I mean, you're in with somebody right now, that's great, that's a start. And if you find out that you actually have a connection on your scroll with somebody else, then you can just move. This is a very flowing, flexible, changing kind of thing. And I've seen people actually begin to form a bench on a topic, and then that topic finishes its job. I mean, the mandate that was behind it is finished and done. And then all of a sudden you're looking for other places that you connect up with, other people you connect up with. So yeah, and from Doris, my desire is to help them see. So if somebody's looking to learn to see, okay, I think that was part of a conversation about children, maybe not. And the conversation continue in the chat group, and it can continue in our chat group once this meeting's over here. Okay, so for next week, what I've got so far planned for next week is I realize that some of our folks have not yet been on an ascension, that they've not experienced going on an ascension and getting that encouragement. And some of our folks have experienced going on an ascension and finding out that it was an advanced ascension and they weren't aware of that when they went. What has happened in Ecclesia Framework in the last week or two, it's all like all of our intermediate ascensions all of a sudden became advanced ascensions. It just, the acceleration that happened in the last few weeks is amazing. And so I think there's several of us at least, that need the experience of having a beginning ascension and having that positive experience happen. So I've done one brief audio on ascensions, and next week we will do an ascension in the group, just like we did with the Book of Destiny activation. We'll do an ascension together as a group next week. So that's that. We're also going to do an activation on the River of Life, getting in the river. We're going to do our garden as part of that. I think I did it towards the end of the activation. Coming to the waterfall and going up the waterfall. Coming to the bridge where Jesus is. You have an option to get off and talk with him if you want to. And then get back in the river and come up to the Father's garden, where he has taken his royal robes off and has put down his scepter and taken his crown off, and is very approachable in his garden there as a king without his kingly garments and his kingly crown and scepter, and you can just have a conversation with him there. The purpose of this is the River of Life is very much full of life, so being in the river there is just plain good for us. And you can hang around and spend as much time as you want to there and come back as often as you want to. Experience of having time with Father and Jesus is great just for the experience, but you're welcome to come back to that as often as you want to. So it's not just, oh, I've done the exercise and now I'm done with that. It's more like, oh, that was wonderful, I'd like to go back to that and do it again. And you go back whenever you want to play in the water or to speak to Father or spend time with the Lord Jesus. So that's what I have planned so far. I may possibly end up tossing putting the exercise about the 3 chambers of the 4 chambers of the heart into that also. If I have a sense that there's room for more in there, we may end up moving that into that also later in the week. But all of this is about relationship, intimacy, and coming alive. Being in the water, you can just let that water soak into you, and it can be helpful in getting some gates open and such. The gate exercise you can go back to at any time and ask the Lord Jesus what he wants you to work on. And the Book of Destiny, Scroll of Destiny exercise. You can go back to it anytime. It's not actually an exercise, it's a relationship with Jesus. And some of us did exercise on our own, some of us did that with Jesus' presence. I think it's probably easier to have Jesus do some of the work for you. So if you're having a little less than full success with that at this point, you could have Jesus help you with that, and he'll continue to work on that. And going back to your Book of Destiny is something you do regularly to get more information for your current phase of your life. As they come along, you go back for more information and live out of what you find. So that's all tips for the future. That leaves us a few minutes here. Simone, is your hand still up from the previous, or did you have something else right now?
This is a new hand raised. I just want to emphasize what you just said, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's everything to practice in the ascensions. And, it's a lot of ascensions that happen during the week. I just encourage everybody, even if you don't feel confident to speak and participate, just being in on the ascension initially, I think it's very helpful. And I mean, that's how you can grow leaps and bounds, and your growth is accelerated again when you go into the heavenly realms. I mean, you, and Bill knows this too, you can grow in a day like you've been doing it for months.
Yep.
And so I just really encourage everybody to participate and, just blow past the fear. And even if you're just in the background listening, try to engage with like everybody else is, and you'll see that you are seeing and that God is giving you things to contribute. So I just want to emphasize how important it is to practice seeing. And again, you don't just see with your eyes in the spirit, so to speak. Feeling is real. You can feel, you can smell. I mean, there's so many gates that we have. So I just want to encourage and emphasize that to participate in the ascensions.
Yes.
And also from other pools, Robin Main's group. Well, actually, be led by the Holy Spirit. Those are other. Mike Parsons. They're great groups. Even from the Tree of Life, be led by the Holy Spirit as to what you should do and where you should go. It's all about being where the Lord is leading you to be.
Exactly. Being on ascension is good just to be there, and if you can get a couple experiences of, yeah, I saw that, yeah, I heard that too, it'll encourage you. The schedule for this next week, Arcing Sons is tomorrow at 9 Eastern Standard Time. 4 weeks ago when I was on that was not an advanced ascension. I don't know if it's accelerated since then also. The Accessing Heaven is every Wednesday at 7 Eastern. And this last time around, this last week, that was exceptionally advanced. And I don't think it's quite that advanced always. And those two groups, Arcing Sons is every 2 Mondays and Accessing Heaven is every Wednesday. And you can get yourself on the email with our YouTube channel to have these sent out to you afterwards so you can participate after the fact if you want to. There's a Discovery Ascension next week on Thursday.
Can you tell me what the new heaven builders are?
I don't know that one.
It was just mentioned on, I think it was a page that Jane Johnson talked about.
It's new to me, so that's things are happening that I'm not even aware of at this point yet. Also, I haven't read the last 6 Facebook posts, so I can see that I'm 6 behind at this point.
Yeah, I fall behind too.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. So anybody that hasn't participated at all tonight that wanted to say something? A few minutes left here. Don't have to if you don't want to, but I just want to give you a chance.
Bill?
Doris, go ahead, yeah.
Hi, it's Wendy.
Hi, Lindy. Okay. Go ahead, Wendy.
Hi, I have a question.
Please.
When we were engaging the scroll, I'm just because I get that we all see, but like I don't see. It's more of a sensing or a knowing feeling. But when we were doing that, like I saw a person. I knew that it was a woman. I knew the name, but I couldn't see her. And then there was like a place, and then there was two like activities, I guess you could say. And so I'm just trying to figure out, because the more I thought on it after we finished, those were all things that were either prophesied over me or have been prophesied over me in the past, or they're dreams that I've had in the last 6 months or so. And I'm trying to figure out. I'm one of those. I'm working on that as a stumbling block, but I'm one of those. I'm trying to figure it out. Like if that's me, just in my thoughts, thinking back to those things, or if that was what was there. You know what I mean?
I understand. You're looking to know whether this was you or not, and most of the time it's not you. I'll give you this example. I read this in a novel once, and it stuck with me. It was a special forces person. They said that when they were in a combat situation, the first urge that came to them was always the right one. And the second urge was their head. The first one was their heart. And they had learned to go with what they called the first twitch in their terms, because it saved lives in a combat situation. And that little illustration stuck with me just because it taught me something from people that had learned it in a life and death situation, that your first gut reaction is probably the right one. And the second one is probably your head. And I say this because I am learning to go with my heart and not my head too. It's part of my journey. And I'm going to give you one more quick thing. If you're not sensing that you're 100% seeing at this point, I give this illustration. You can fly by looking out the window and seeing the ground and being able to know where you are and look at a map. Or you can fly at night by looking at the instruments in the dark when you can't see the ground. And this is the person that's not seeing 100% yet. You are flying at night with your instruments when you're feeling, touching, whatever. But it doesn't matter as long as you're flying the plane, which way you do it. And I have spent months in heavenly realms where I was not seeing all the details, but I could function. And it's just a matter, the old illustration, here's another one. The person with the Greek mindset that was given the gift of a new car will quickly start tearing apart and learning how the brakes work and how this works and how that works. The person with the Hebrew mindset says, where's the keys? Oh, that's how you work the brakes. That's how you work the accelerator. I wonder how fast it goes. And they're out there and gone driving the car. And so which way should we be doing it? We should be doing it the Hebrew way. It's all about function. It's not about analysis. And so if you can go with the function, if you can make the function work, it doesn't matter what senses you are or are not using, as long as you're able to function and get to the next step. Doesn't make a bit of difference. You're functioning 100%, whether you're or not, you're seeing 100%. So.
And then I have another question, because the person that I saw there that came out of my book, I know, like I've heard of her, but I don't know who she is. I haven't done, I guess I need to do a little research on her, but she's no longer, she's in glory. She's already in heaven. So could she be I guess I'd be like the cloud of witnesses. Could she be a part of my cloud of witnesses?
She could potentially be one of your men in white linen. Or
men in white linen, okay.
Yeah, which is a cloud of witnesses is folks that have passed along, but they're not actually as level that they can be participating with us any longer. Men in white linen are at a level where they can. Is my summary of that. But you could be getting a symbol for a man in white linen, or you could simply be getting information, a symbol about that person and what their life means something to you, in which case a simple Google search could do it. But if it's a man in white linen, then engaging that person to see if they're going to have a relationship with you would be the other route to go. And you'll know in your heart which one it is. Doris, you had your hand up, and I want to give you your chance to say something before we finish here, because you did put your hand up. How can we help?
Okay. This is the first time I engaged to see my scroll, and I saw a little bit of it. How does it work as the Lord begins to show you? Do you start walking it out, or you just continually engage until you get the whole scroll, or what? How does that work?
Okay, that's a good question. All you need is enough information to know what he's showing you about the next step of your life. So whatever is usable, use it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the purpose of this is to finding out what you need to know for the current time, for your current walk, moving into your next few steps, is what he's going to show you in the Book of Destiny. You look again in a month from now, he'll give you information further down the path. And that's why you continually look in as you're led to see if there's anything new in there that will be assistance to you at the current time.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's all, this is not mechanical. What you're actually doing is you're engaging Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It's actually a relationship. All of Heavenly Realms is actually about relationship and functioning into responsibility, knowing what you're given responsibility for, what parts your destiny is meant for you to do something. That then turns from relationship into responsibility. But even then, the responsibility is out of relationship if you fall. It's all going to be out of this relationship you have with Father, Jesus, and Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So, yeah. And engaging can be hearing, seeing, sensing, smelling, whatever, however it works for you, go with it.
Okay.
Simone, you've got a great way of summarizing things, so you've got the chance to summarize here. Go ahead.
I just wanted to support what you're saying, Bill, because it's excellent. What Bill is in essence saying, and you'll hear us talk about this a lot, he's expressing how we eat from the tree of life, and which basically means that we're totally being led by God. And sometimes you don't have, most of the time you don't have all the pieces initially. But another way of saying that is that you're following what they can call the Hebrew mindset instead of the Greek mindset. The Greek mindset, which most of us were taught, is you wait till you get every little bitty thing before you move out on it. But God's way, the way that he taught the Hebrews or the Israelites, you got to give you one piece and you move out on that, how he leads you to. And then as you do that, you'll get the next piece, or you'll get more as you go. So, to support what Bill is saying, Doris, whatever you get, you go with what God has given you, and you follow how he's leading you to do with it. I hope I'm expressing that good. And that's very key, because the old way is completely opposite. But again, as you engage with heaven, it'll become more natural for you. And it'll help you blow by your mind too, sometimes when your mind isn't getting it. So I just want to say that that's a part of eating from the tree of life, which is the Hebrew type of mindset, which is really God's mindset that he taught the Hebrews. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Bill.
This is Kelly, and I'm going to tag on to that of Simone and say that I feel like that is where a lot of everyone's frustration is because we've just been raised in the Greek way of thinking, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and this linear. We live our whole life by linear things, of doing one thing at a time and step by step by step like that. But but it's all in a mindset. So what's happening is we're getting a new spiritual lens and we're getting a new mindset. And like anything that you have that's brand new, there's going to be a little tweaks and twerks and just things that are frustrate you until you get to know it. It's just like getting a brand new phone that you've never, if you switched over from an iPhone to a Droid or whatever, you have to learn that, and it's frustrating. It's not like you can't use a phone, but you're just really frustrated because you have to work the kinks out. And it's all about getting our new mindset and getting a brand new spiritual lens. And that's exactly what's happening. So don't stay for, I mean, what Bill and Simone have said, you know, we got to persevere. We can't get frustrated and give up. I mean, you will come over. We all are working from victory. We're not working for victory. We're already victorious. We're working from victory. We got to persevere and press in this stuff.
Well said, Kelly.
Yes.
And we're in it for love. You know, no matter what happens, God, we're in our hearts. We're saying, God, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it, up, down, in and out, backwards, frontwards. I'm in it to win it because I love you. And so that's our heart posture. And so yeah, that's our commitment in our heart. You know, no matter what happens, we're in it. And I just wanted to say one last thing, Bill. Can I say one last thing?
Please, yeah.
What Kelly was just saying about that sparked something else. Let me see if I can bring it back. It was just about getting, and that was, you know, a perfect picture of that in the Bible. If anybody's having trouble with this, let me give you a biblical example. When God told Abraham to leave his family, he did not know where he was going. He just went. And God said go, and he just went. And that was it. And I submit to you, that's one of the reasons why he was the father of faith. That's a perfect picture of just stepping out just because God says step out. You may not know it all. You may not understand why it's happening, but if he says go, you just go. And that creates a huge tree of life in your spirit that'll catapult you to some higher levels quickly just because you obey, just because he asks you to.
Can't say it any better than that. I'm going to end the recording at this point.